Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what time it is, man. We're back with Spotlight Wednesdays, each and every Wednesday, right here, 6 o'clock p.m. Where we excuse me, I just got tongue tied today, but where we actually interview influential people within the community that's doing something positive for their community and making a difference within their community. We have special guests on today. We have my man, Coach Bentley, on. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, outstanding, man. Good to see you.
Awesome, man. We had a man of the hour, man. My man, Caleb Yanno. How you doing, Caleb?
Doing great, man. Glad to be here. Appreciate y'all having me.
Definitely, man. Spotlight Wednesdays is geared towards people that put an influence into their neighborhood, does something great for their neighborhood, and makes a difference within their neighborhood. I should say it that way. You know what I mean? A lot of people have businesses, small businesses, but they're not making a big difference or trying to make a difference. They're usually trying to make a profit. For the people who don't know who Caleb Yano is, please give them a brief summary or a brief description of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is, like you said, Caleb Yanno. I'm from Youngstown. Currently live on the west side of Akron. I'm the executive director of an organization called the Akron Dream Center. We are a faith-based nonprofit in East Akron, and we exist to help people's dreams come to life. Hence the name Akron Dream Center. We work with underserved, marginalized families who live in underserved and under-resourced areas to meet their physical and spiritual needs, basically. So that's what we're about.
How did you get started in the business?
Oh man, let me give you a short answer. I've been doing this type of stuff since I was little. My parents actually ran a nonprofit in Youngstown doing a similar thing. So it's kind of been instilled in me since I was a kid. Been involved with the Akron Dream Center since 2018 when it launched. Moved to Atlanta for a few years, and as it grew, the founder Rusty reached out to me and said, "Man, we're thinking about bringing just like a director on to help it grow, kind of help develop programs and things like that. Would you consider, or at least pray about, coming back to Ohio from Atlanta?"
Right.
If you ever been to Atlanta, that's a big prayer right there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to go back,
Right.
but yeah, my wife and I, we just prayed about it, and we felt like God was leading us back. So here we are. Been here since January of 2022, so just over a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a funny story because that's actually how I got back. I was in Atlanta and I was working, man, had a good job and everything. I let my cousin use my car. He told us my car while I was up here making music back when I was an artist in those days.
Yeah.
And my belief was what I learned from, because I used to live in Virginia as well. What I learned from Virginia, DC, and Atlanta, I had the thought of bringing that here, you know what I mean, and placing it here. But with that comes the mentality. You know what I mean? The people have to have the right mentality. Atlanta, it's big. A lot of people are doing business, so it's easier to come. When you come here, it's kind of harder because where we're at. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of big companies in Ohio that represents, whether it's music or, you know what I mean, organizational stuff like that. With the Dream Team Center, how did you get the name for the Dream Team?
So there's actually a pretty well-known organization out in LA. It's called the LA Dream Center. They've been around for probably 30 plus years. Huge organization, faith-based, kind of like us. And so there's been a lot of dream centers that launched in different cities around the nation, basically kind of adopting the same type of model that they used. And so that's how we got our name, the Dream Center.
Okay. And I hear you say faith-based. How does that play a part in the business part?
Yeah, we're a Christian organization. Definitely not apologetic about it. We don't force it down people's throat. It's not a bait and switch thing where if you come to one of our events, you got to sit through a sermon, or you have to let us pray for you or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're more so about like being the hands and feet of Jesus, like being an example, meeting needs, loving our neighbors, building relationships. And the ultimate goal is to connect people with their purpose in Christ, their dreams and their purpose. But yeah, we're not a church, you know what I mean? We're a nonprofit, but we are faith-based. Yeah.
I noticed something that you
hold
have.
Hold on 1 second. Talking to the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I noticed something. Once we began to realize we could all collaborate, you introduced us to your two buildings, to your two establishments, and what we noticed, Coach, is you have two buildings right in the heart of project complexes, right? So you have your
Mhm.
first building, the Dream Center.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about Dream Center Building 1 that's right? I believe
Mhm.
is that the Rosemary apartment complexes?
Yeah, it's technically called Chesapeake Point, but everybody in Akron knows it as the Rosemary.
Right.
You know, it's made up of
I was going to
Chesapeake
ask you how you
Points
got
and
over
all that.
there. First of all,
Yeah.
that was one of my questions.
Well, it's kind of by chance, but it actually is perfect for our vision. Yeah, so that was at the time. We actually started in the office over there where Boss Fitted is. A lot of people know Boss Fitted, so that
Right.
was the first
Shout
Dream
out to my
Center
man,
office.
Bossy.
Yeah, great dude. Just because I was a space available in the community where we were at, and then we've just kind of over the years just grown into what it is now, and so kind of unintentionally but perfect, right in the center of, like you said, two pretty rough areas.
Yeah.
The
Between the
Rosemary
Wilbur and the
community
Rosemary
and
Wilbur.
the Wilbeth right across Arlington Street, which we also got a building over there now, which you just referred to. But yeah, I mean, like for what we do, I mean, there's no better place. You know what I mean? A lot of people be like,
Right.
well, why would you want a building in that space? You know what I mean? Like we want to go to where the need is. If you ever been to that side of town, there's no resources. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot over there, especially for youth to do. So that's why they're getting into trouble, breaking in
Mhm.
houses, stealing cars, whatever, because there's not really anything positive for them to do. So where we're at is almost like literally like it's cliche, but like a light in the darkness. You know what I mean? It's just a whole area of darkness and kind of hopelessness. And we just kind of have starting to just become like a symbol of hope over there, which is really, really dope.
Because
Yeah.
you feed
Right.
like 150 people during the week or something like that. Like I know I met you. I was doing the Dean of Students
Right. Yeah. At
at
Edge.
Edge,
Hmm.
and then all that year you're bringing us food for the
Yeah.
kids. So you
Yeah.
run a lot of programs out of there. So
Hmm.
we had all these bags of food, and the kids loved it. The students loved
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then you also feed a group of. So can you kind of talk about some of that programming in
Yeah.
that building?
Yeah, so we run a variety of programs, from feeding programs to community events. We do community block parties, we do a community dinner, we do stuff like that. We do mentoring programs, after school programs, which you're referring to. Our backpack program, basically, the need that we saw and that came to our attention was that a lot of kids in the community were going home and not eating on the weekends. You know, they get fed
Right.
at school through free
Especially in the Rosemary.
yeah, and there will be through free and reduced lunch. They'll eat, at school and breakfast, but when they go home, like they're coming to school Monday with, their bellies are grumbling because they haven't ate. So how can you, and then they're misbehaving and they're not, paying attention. It's like your kid is starving. So
Mhm.
that's just like a practical need that we just saw that we could meet. We
Mhm.
started off, I think our backpack program was serving like 15 kids, and we're currently serving 510 weekly during the
Mhm.
school year. Yeah,
That's
The,
5 different schools.
the good thing about that, man, just like you said, being faith based, that's just what God, they said God had done. He hung with the crooks
Yeah,
and the peddlers, you know what I mean, and fed them, you know what I mean.
right.
Um, the I like the fact that, with the program, you see the needs in the community. You know what I mean? You see the needs in the community. A lot of people will take their businesses to a suburb, you know what I mean, and try to provide for people that already have it,
Yeah.
as words to try to provide for the people who don't have it.
Hmm.
And like you said, you say you're Italian. You know what I mean? Being but that's the only reason I say that to be because you moved into a predominantly black
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I
It's a
mean?
factor.
A
Yeah.
lot of people won't even take that chance.
No,
You know
that's
what I mean?
yeah,
Just
that's
with the
valid.
violations and the you know what I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
all the crime and stuff going on. But you were able to turn around a lot of kids. You're able to give kids focus, give people
Yeah.
hope, give people dreams
Right.
of becoming something. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Whatever it is, you're able to provide that hope. And we were just talking at the school today about proactive and reactive, and you're giving that proactive ideal look to
Hmm.
these kids because one thing about your program that I do like, well, actually, there's a lot of things I like about your program, but one thing I ideally like about your program is the thing about Akron and in these inner city ghettos, you have a lot of people who turns to the music to vent their
Yeah.
frustrations. So not only having the food, dinners and stuff for them, you have a studio, you have things that they can learn to do. And talk a little bit about that, and
Mhm.
actually how you provide back with the Mac computers and everything like that.
Yeah, that's been a vision of ours since day one. um, yeah, I've been, involved in music since I was a kid. Always loved music, and saw the influence of it. You know what I mean? I was
Mhm.
influenced by it, just like these kids are.
Right.
And so, yeah. So what we do is we bring in kids from the neighborhood. We actually have a recording studio, funded by some grant money that we received. Made it look super legit. You guys saw it. Like, we
Yeah.
wanted to look nice. We didn't want it to
Mhm.
look thrown together. Like, we wanted the kids to come into like a real looking studio. And so we teach everything in music, from production to mixing and mastering to writing to even performing. I'm actually taking a couple kids to Columbus this coming Saturday to
Mhm.
perform, and they performed around the city at different events.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so the purpose of that is, there's a couple different reasons we do it. One is to use music as a mentoring tool, to teach them life lessons, biblical values. We'll take lyrics of the song and break them down and have discussions about them. Start to get them to understand the message that's being put out in the music, right?
Right.
And then to provide just a valuable skill that they can use.
Mhm.
You've done music, so like there's some money in it. Whether it's production, whether
Right.
it's mixing and mastering. Um,
There's other things besides being the artist.
yeah, or if you want to be the artist, that's fine too. But just kind of like teaching them all those skills, so they could have those valuable skills, and use
Mhm.
them. And then the third thing is just to give them a creative way to express themselves, like in a healthy way to express themselves, I should
Mhm.
say, as opposed to some of the other ways that young people express themselves. Right? We want to give them that music outlet.
So I noticed that also the language. So
Mhm.
words are valuable, and so I noticed
You
that.
asking the right person about the word. Words are very valuable. But go ahead.
He said I got an acronym for everything. But,
I noticed that too.
But go ahead.
so you said it. You bring up, you study the lyrics and words, but you're making sure what they put into their songs are valuable words, of life changing words. Like, how do you guide that? How do you
Yeah.
police to make sure that in your establishment you set these
Hmm.
boundaries, but they can't say certain things, but they still get their story across, or their you know
That's a good one, because we everything that we do at the Dream Center, we have a standard of conduct that we expect, and they know that, especially the ones that have been coming. The ones that are
Mhm.
newer might not, but they'll get it pretty quick. Um, and one of the things is clean language. We don't accept inappropriate language. That's just a part of creating a safe, clean atmosphere where people can come, and
Right.
this gets them away from like some of the stuff that they deal with at home and in the
Mhm.
neighborhood. But as far as the music goes, like, yeah, that's a rule in the studio, and you've seen our rule is like
yeah.
clean language is definitely a rule. We don't tell them that they have to necessarily, like, you don't have to rap about God. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a Christian song or a gospel rap.
But it has to be
You can
clean.
tell your story, but just do it in a clean way and do it in a way that's gonna uplift people.
And what's crazy even about that's even a better market than just doing it explicitly. You know what I mean? Because people look, once they do an explicit song, when you're creating your let's say your DJ pack or your package, you have to make a clean version
Right.
of
Yeah.
the song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's a good way to get them started on that. A little bit off topic. What was your first rap name?
Mine.
Yeah.
They call me Young Yanno. Young Yanno. Yeah, it is, everybody had a little young something.
Right.
So then I just dropped. As I got older, I dropped the young, and I just kept Yanno, which is my last name. That's what a lot of my friends call me.
And how has you being an artist yourself contributed to what type of businesses you opened up for the kids?
Oh, majorly, like in every way. Like, as an artist, I saw, first of all, like how expensive it was to pay for studio time, So I'm like, well, if I could give these kids the opportunity to not have to deal with that, or to
Mm.
teach them to do it themselves, how expensive it is to pay for beats and stuff like that. Um, Skills, I guess, kind of well rounded in that area. I don't consider myself like an expert at anything, but I have like a pretty basic knowledge of of everything when it
Right.
comes to music. So I'm able to help out in a lot of different areas. Um, and I guess the connections that I've been able to make over the years, and like kind of some of the networking that I've done, giving them the opportunity to like perform. Like I said, we're going to Columbus
Right.
this weekend. You know, I guess as an artist, as I grew older, I kind of realized like, all right, I'm not gonna make it as an artist. You know what I mean? I'm never gonna be, J. Cole or whatever.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that I can't have an impact though. Like I want to use the knowledge and the stuff that I've gained over the years and still have an impact and pour into others. You know what I mean? It's really
True.
that's to me more fulfilling. You know what I mean? Than even doing my own music. So
Right.
And so in your other building, it's going to be a little more unique. So in the building that you have near the Rosemary, you have that specific setup. What similar things will be in the Wilbeth building? And and we're excited about the fact that you open that door for Speaker Leakers, Kinder Spirit, Lava Athletics.
Yeah.
To open that door and collaborate. We're actually building a coalition, and I think that's vital. So how will you use that new building versus how you have one set up? It is kind of unique, is what you were telling me, huh? Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I want to say something about that too. Like a part of our vision is partnerships, man. That's how we got connected, all of us, right?
Networking.
So, yeah, I mean, we believe that the only way to truly make a difference in the community is to work together, right? There's stuff that we can't do. There's stuff that you guys do that we don't do. There's stuff that we do that you don't do. Like we have to work together. You know what I mean? So that's a big part of our vision, and that's what we want to do. Even with the building, is just to invite other organizations who maybe are reaching the community in ways that we're not,
right?
To come under our roof and kind of have that space. But yeah, the building, the Wilbeth, is super dope because we already work with a lot of the families there. But Arlington is such a big divider, if you know that area. That building is literally in the backyards of like the people that we serve. Right. So I mean, it's literally just so convenient for them to just come. So our plans for that building, and we're going to actually start another community dinner over there, which will be really cool. That'll be a weekly thing where people can come and get a hot meal, and just fellowship together, build community together. We do what we call youth rec nights right now at our current building, but we're going to move that across the streets of Wilbeth. Basically, that just gives kids in the community a safe place once a week to come to hang out. We have games like video games and ping pong and all that good stuff, foosball and stuff like that, basketball. We feed them, and it just provides a safe place. There's no teaching, there's no discussion. It's just they just come and hang out basically, and that's literally, like I said, like right in the backyard of a lot of the kids that we're already reaching. So it's just convenient.
And what schools? There's some schools in there. So we provide mental health services, right, and behavioral health services. So you got some schools in that area now that some of those kids from those Akron public area, you got some charter schools in that area.
Yeah.
How can we team up, you think, to impact those kids from those schools?
Yeah, I mean, we're not just. I mean, we're the Akron Dream Center, so we're not just about the community. It just happens to be like the need is so heavy where we're at.
The
but
community.
We expand out too. Like we pick kids up. We have a van where we pick kids up and bring them in. I was actually talking to the founder of Edge, Dave. Seems like a really good guy. I met him for the first time. Talked about busing kids over from there. Like we want to, wherever the need is, like we want to be able to connect people. Right. You know what I mean? So whether it's going and picking kids up, whether it's having you bring kids or whatever, like we're completely open to it.
That's great.
Yeah, I told him. I told him, I'm gonna have to get a van. Yeah, because I never knew, even coming into this business of what we're doing, that it was so many people who needed rides.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. Just rides to get to the event.
Right.
You know what I mean, because a lot of there's no car within the family household. And I'm like, gee, so I got a little room in my truck, you know what I mean? Probably about 4 or 5 people, but my list got bigger, you know what I mean? I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna have to purchase a van or something, you know what I mean?
Coach, you're making a great point, because when you're dealing with community traumas, when you're dealing with those issues, one of them is transportation issues.
Yeah.
The access and to get to those things that can change their lives. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different. So to create that access and be able to take away the transportation barriers, very, very supportive. And like you were saying earlier, in that area, if you think about the health food options, you have probably 1 million drive-throughs, and you got organizations like Aldi's. They don't sell most of these places sell inferior goods when it comes to marketing, but they don't have any good nurturing meals. Like you said, access to transportation and
which is a real big issue.
That's big, man.
Yeah, that's a real big issue. Where do you see the Dream Center? I say within the next 5 years. What's your vision for the Dream Center?
There's a few specific things that we see happening. The building that we're in right now, the main building we own, we don't own, but we rent 3 spaces in there. We see ourselves owning that building eventually. That's in the already kind of in the works. We don't have the money yet, obviously, or we would own it. But so the big vision is to own that building, which if you've been in that area, you know, like where it's at, and it's just a perfect space for what we want to do, and then invite other organizations again who are reaching the community in ways that we're not, under one roof, like free of charge, to holistically reach the community, right? So we'll literally be like a one-stop shop for that community, if that makes sense. That's the big vision. I could see it happening in 5 years,
right?
Whether it's 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, I don't know, but that's the big
ultimate
vision.
goal.
Yeah.
What else I was going to ask you? If you knew then what you know now, what would you change?
If I knew then, when?
Like, if you knew coming up, if you didn't know what you know now, then at that point in time, now that you got more experience into the thing, what would you change about it?
How far back we talking? Like,
how far you want to go back?
Let's go back. Let's go back. When did you start seeing the vision? Let's go back to your
like,
value system.
Like
your
you said, if you said to yourself, "Dang, if I'd have known this back then, I would have changed this."
So your faith,
what would that be?
You know what I mean? When you accepted Christ and you got the vision, you kind of God begins working on you. Let's go there.
Yeah.
And then you start to have these selfish things that you do for yourself to prepare yourself, and you're working through issues with God. So when did that point come when you like, wait a minute, I gotta open this up and I got this calling?
Oh man. Man, that's a really good question. You put me on the spot.
Oh, we do this.
I love it. I love that. I'm trying to think of like a quick way to answer.
He's gonna be doing it next.
Yeah.
We're gonna get him prepared.
So I didn't initially go into this type of work. Like coming out of college, I went to school for occupational therapy, had actually a career in that for 3-4 years before God put it on my heart to just like completely give myself to this type of work and this type of ministry, like, which is like just giving my life for the marginalized and people who are just underserved in the community. And at the time I was living in Youngstown, and I thought I was going to be in Youngstown forever. Like my mind was just so small, and if it wasn't for my wife, I would probably still be there.
Right.
But I guess I would just like, man, my mind's been open so much, like since moving to Atlanta, then back here. It's like, I think I would just be like, not be so afraid to make that step. You know what I mean? Just to step out. Even financially, like I was doing pretty well, like working in the healthcare field. You know what I mean? Going from that to like, all right, I'm just gonna jump ship and just go after what I feel God is calling me to. There's really no money in it, you know what I mean? Which to a lot of people looks stupid, but looking back, and even right now, I could say that like God will always take care of you when you're doing what He's called you to do. That doesn't mean don't be smart. Like if anybody's listening, I'm not telling you to like quit your job or nothing like that. But if you do feel like God is calling you to do something, like He'll take care of you. You know what I mean? And I would tell myself that, like, just go for it, man. Like God will take care of you. And He is. You know, there's struggles. Like it wouldn't be, I don't believe it would be like God's will if it wasn't a sacrifice. You know what I mean? If it wasn't struggles involved. But along with those struggles come the most fulfilling and the most happy like you're ever gonna be. You know what I mean? Like I make less money than I've ever made, but I'm happier than I've ever been. You know,
and you know what's crazy? That's the balance.
Yeah.
Some people go for the money, some people go for the happiness. You know what I mean? That's the balance right there. I like to be happy. I like money, but I'd rather be not stressed as well. You know what I mean? I'd rather wake up and love what I'm doing than to wake up and be frustrated with a lot of money. You know what I mean? So definitely. Last question. What was I about to ask you? I just thought of something. It was crazy. But if you wasn't doing this,
Yeah.
what would you be doing?
I don't know, man. I would probably fall back to my degree that I have. Like I'm still a licensed, actually still licensed in the state of Ohio for occupational therapy. So I would probably be doing that while trying to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do, and still probably doing music. Like honestly, still pursuing music. You know as well as I do probably that once you start once that music like once you that never leaves, you know what I mean?
Right.
The passion for music like don't go away.
Now that never leaves.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
so
That never leaves.
I would probably still be pursuing that and trying to live out my dreams and you know
Right.
not getting the message that is that you know that ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that either. Like I don't think there's nothing wrong with being an artist, but I think people just have to understand like you can influence. You don't have to be a superstar to have influence. You know what I mean? Like you could be a local artist and influence people locally. You can be
Right.
like somebody like me can go into the projects. You know what I mean? Where you don't have like Drake couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Drake couldn't go into the Wilbur Arlington homes and do a show. You know what I mean? So
You're right
there's
about
a lot of different ways that you can move and stuff like that. And so
Right.
that's what I settle with.
Yeah.
So if you had one thing, I'm sorry, Coach.
Go ahead.
If you had one thing you would tell one youth, one kid, one student, one person right now, and hearing your voice, what would you tell that kid? What would you tell that student, that child?
Yeah, I would tell them don't wait until it's too late to figure out what your calling is. You know, a lot of these kids think they got so much time, and we're seeing more and more like you don't have that. You don't know how much time you have.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
There's a lot of young people dying. There's a lot of young people, you know, whatever. Like there's a lot of stuff happening out here. So, and I'm not trying to like. It's okay to have fun. You know what I mean? But I just like the more I look back, I'm just like, man, I wish I would have had this mentality I have now at like 17, 18, like coming right out of high school. You know, I just feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities between 18 and whatever, 25, 26, when it comes to like just influence. You know
Right.
what I mean? These kids are gonna be the ones to change their communities. They're gonna be the ones to break generational cycles. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of poverty, of education or whatever it is. Like they're gonna be the ones. So I try to instill that in them. Like take that seriously. You know what I mean? You guys are the ones. So
yeah.
I like that.
Well, we definitely appreciate you for coming on our platform today and speaking your piece and letting the people know what's going on within the community, especially on your side of town and all around, and the things that you do for the community. If you can give them your social links and let them know where they can find you at.
yeah, my personal social links are my Facebook. You just look up my name, Caleb, Caleb, Yanno, Yanno. Instagram, Italiano, Italyanno _ the Dream Center is Akron Dream Center. You could just look that up and find it everywhere. Our website is akrondreamcenter.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram and all that. So yeah, check out our socials. We always post stuff we got going on. We got a big back to school program coming up pretty soon. So yeah, make sure y'all stay up to date.
Definitely. Coach, let them know where they can find you at.
LavaAthletics.org. That's where we're at.
Definitely. And I'm DJ Laylo, DJ LAYLO 330. Find me on all social media platforms. Speaker Leaguers Worldwide. You can find us everywhere. Just search us in the Google or the Apple app, and we'll definitely be pulled up. Also, man, make sure that you also look up Kindred Spirits as well. And like they said, Live Athletics and the Dream Center. We out of here till next time, man. We would like to welcome my man Caleb Yanno for coming on the show. We appreciate you so much.
Appreciate y'all.
And thank you for popping on those. Yeah.
Hope to be back.
Definitely. We got a lot of things to do. We out of here, y'all.